now being joined by Dr. Tawheed Asadi, Adjunct Professor at the University of Tehran. Welcome to the show, Dr. Asadi. Now, we were just discussing with our correspondent here how the reformist contestant Masoud Pezeshkian has won the Iranian polls. A reformist front nearly after 20 years. What does this win mean for Iran and its ties with the West? And what kind of policy changes can we expect? Because we know how Pezeshkian championed his election campaign on Iran's closer ties and openness towards the West.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. And then secondly, I think it was one of the most exceptional and unpredictable elections in the history of the Islamic Republic. We had an unexpected nearly 50% of turnout in the second round of election. And it's just the second time in the history of the Islamic Republic that we have a runoff in presidential elections. And it's also interesting that in the previous time that we had a runoff, in the second round of election, the participation was lower, but this time we had an increasing 10%, let's say, of actually participation in voting, which shows that people are enthusiastic about the destiny of their country. But back to the question that you raised, I think when it comes to the high politics and grand strategies of the Islamic Republic, the entire trajectory is not expected to observe a paradigmatic shift because of the fact that I don't agree on your, let's say, report that the supreme leader is the only factor in the calculations and in the formulations of foreign or domestic policies. Iranian politics is formulated within a highly dynamic, let's say, and complex mechanism in which there are different actors and factors. The supreme leader, no doubt, no small spot of hesitation, is a key player there. But still, we have the president, we have the parliament, and we have other sources of power and influence based upon which the entire policy is formulated. And added to that is the calculations that are taking place outside the country, including the election in the United States and other factors. This is one point. And the second point, I think with the reformist candidate, Mr. Pezeshkian, coming to the office now, we are expecting a change of tone in the foreign policy of the Islamic Republic. There is going to be further tangible openness towards let's say, negotiations with the West. But let's just keep in mind the fact that Iran has never closed the door of talks with the West when it comes to the nuclear talks and when it comes to the other arenas in which the two sides can have talks. The thing is that talks were stopped due to the fact that the Western, let's say, part of the negotiations was not ready to fulfill its commitments. Let's keep in mind, Iran fulfilled all its commitments based on the JCPOA, or the nuclear deal that was signed and sealed back in 2015, but in return, it received nothing. This is something that has been tested, and there is a sort of consensus that Iran should broaden the scope of its foreign policy. That's why we have active participation of Iran in, let's say, international bodies like BRICS or Shanghai or other bodies that sound economically interesting for Iran. And I think we will see a continuation of such a trajectory. We will have, my anticipation is that we will have further attempts to, let's say, improve the possibility of talks with the West, but it's still regional policy, I think, tops the list of priorities for the Islamic Republic at the time being.
Right. Dr. Asadi, a lot of points made there. You speak of how, starting with, that the Supreme Leader is not the only top person to call all the shots in Iran, and there are a lot of other people with whom the decisions are made. Talk to us more about how how the ties with the newly elected President Pezeshkian and Khomeini, how will that impact the future role of the policies in Iran, and also about how the Iranians are looking for change and have asserted their openness towards a shift from the policies of ultra-hardliners, because we've seen how Jalili in the past said that Iran would grow, would develop without the help of the West.
Well, for the first part of the question, we know that Dr. Pezeshkian has been a part of the Islamic Republic's governing system. He has been a part of the executive branch as the Minister for Health. He has been he has an experience of working in a top position in the parliamentary system of the Islamic Republic, and the fact that he was a candidate shows that there is a sort of practical tie between him and the entire political system. That by itself is saying, but I think all in all, when we're talking about presidential debates or the entire process before the election, there might be some controversies, but I think there is now this in-depth, profound understanding on the exigency of national unity, which was one of the key issues that Mr. Pezeshkian campaigned for. He said that I'm going to be the president for all, not for a specific group of people. And I think either from the left side of the spectrum or the right side, now this understanding that exists on the ground among the political elites, that if the challenges, particularly the economic challenges of the country, should be solved, the first and most important need for the country is this national unity. And then I think he's going to do his best to obtain this objective. This is one point. And when it comes to people, I think still we see this more than a huge amount of people voted for him. That by nature shows the tendency of the Iranian public. Certainly there is a public dissatisfaction which comes basically from the economic hardship in the country, which is again a result of many factors, most important of which is the sanctions brutally imposed by the West on the country. So with further openness, or there is a chance for, in public opinion, there is a chance for an improvement in the economic situation of the country.
Right, Dr. Saadi, thank you so much for joining us on the show with your insights on the remarkable verdict that the Iranians have given with Masoud Pezeshkian, the next president of Iran.
Thank you very much for having me.